There are many examples of people using magic and divination in the Bible, and doing so very nonchalantly. One such example is in Genesis chapter 30. In this story, Jacob has been working for his uncle to earn his daughters as wives. Jacob was welcomed in by Laban as a young man, and made an agreement to work 7 years' labor before Laban allowed him to marry his daughter Rachel. However, Laban tricked Jacob into marrying his elder daughter Leah instead. Jacob then took Rachel as his second wife on the condition that he would labor an additional 7 years. After Jacob has a son born of Rachel, he requests leave and that he may go with his wife and children for the service that he rendered to Laban. We find out that Laban has decided to view Jacob favorably, agrees to fulfill his contract, and realizes that he has been blessed by his relationship with Jacob on the basis of divination. Genesis chapter 30, verses 25 through 27. And it happened that as soon as Rachel had given birth to Joseph, Jacob said to Laban, "Send me away, that I may go to my place and my land. Give me my wives and my children, for which I have served you, and let me go. For you yourself know my service that I have rendered to you." But Laban said to him, "Please, if I have found favor in your eyes, I have learned by divination that Yahweh has blessed me because of you." While Laban uses divination, and nothing is really said of it in terms of judging it as evil, only later on in the Bible do we find the explicit prohibition of magical practices, specifically in Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy chapter 18, verses 9 through 12. "When you have come into the land which Yahweh God gives you, you shall not learn to do after the abominations of those nations. There shall not be found among you any one that makes his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, or that uses divination, or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch, or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer. For all that do these things are an abomination to Yahweh, and because of these abominations Yahweh your God drives them out from before you." Now, even though the Bible speaks ill of and forbids the practice of magic, the prohibition of magic is not an empty request. Yahweh is not prohibiting and punishing actions on the basis of fantasy and mere superstition. Magic is real, and it poses a threat. If God is supposedly an all-knowing, all-perfect being, or at the very least a supremely powerful being, then he wouldn't fall for local superstition. And if these actions were simple deception, then God would make that abundantly clear, that these things don't really happen. Therefore, if he made laws against necromancy, sorcery, witchcraft, wizardry, and spellcasting, it means that there had to actually be necromancers, sorcerers, witches, wizards, and spellcasters. Of course, the biblical authors are declaring, or rather manufacturing, what Yahweh thinks and says. The writers of the Bible are not afraid that the Israelites might become superstitious and believe in things that aren't real. They're afraid of doing supernatural acts which might challenge Yahweh. They're afraid of practices that are associated with subterfuge and evil. And Abrahamic believers today are afraid of calling upon spirits and evil forces which can have magical effects and which are real and tangible. But why would a powerful and just God allow for the existence of such spirits in the first place, such that it would bother him? How powerful is this God that it should bother him?